So happy Lag BaOmer to everybody here. For anyone who doesn't know what Lag BaOmer is, I'll give a quick little introduction just to whet your appetite, okay? For many of the Balei Tshuva who are watching this right now, Lag BaOmer is probably the most important and the least talked about Chag that there is for the Jewish people. Because Rabbi Nachman makes it clear, and the Zohar says explicitly, that the key to all the Jews who are furthest away from spiritual connection coming back are the teachings which Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai brought down for us, okay? He passed away today. He passed away today 2,000 years ago. And for 33 days leading up to today, there was a rabbi, his name was Rabbi Akiva. He's one of the greatest rabbis who ever lived. He actually is a Baal Tshuva himself, someone whose father was a convert, and he himself was actually very anti-Judaism and hated the rabbis until he met his beautiful wife Rachel, who grew up religious, and they fell in love, and she believed in him, even though he was not connected to Hashem and didn't believe in it. And in the end, as a result, Rabbi Akiva became one of the greatest sages in the history of the world. And he ended up having 24,000 students. 24,000 students. And within 33 days, they all passed away, except for 5. So it was a very, very traumatic time, even much more traumatic than what we're experiencing right now. And if you can imagine being a leader of so many people and having all of them pass away in 33 days, how could a person respond? Except Rabbi Akiva, and probably because of his upbringing and by the fact that he had to overcome so much to get to this place, he was able to start all over again with 5 students. He had 5 students left who survived, and he taught them everything that he knew. One of those students, his name was Shimon, the son of Yochai, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. The Gemara speaks a lot about him. The Arizal says he was a Gilgul, a reincarnation of Moshe Rabbeinu. And so therefore Rabbi Akiva was teaching Moshe. Now very interestingly, just as a side note, we know that Moshe Rabbeinu was able to see from his point of life until the end. Before he passed away, in Kabbalah they explain, what did it mean he got to see the land of Israel? It means that he got to see until the end of history, until the redemption. Because he himself was so troubled by the fact that he was not taking the Jewish people in. So Hashem showed him, in fact, he would in the future. And he had peace, and he was buried like that. What did he see in the future? He saw Rabbi Akiva. There's a famous story about how he saw that there was a person who was teaching the most intricate Torahs and connecting to the deepest wisdom, and he wanted to know who it was. Said it was Rabbi Akiva. And Moshe himself said, I would love to learn from him. So interestingly, and this is a good point for us to know, that's exactly what happened. Now, many of our prayers in our life, they don't seem to get answered. And the answer I give everybody is, not yet. Because Moshe Rabbeinu prayed 515 times to take us into the land of Israel, to save the Jewish people, to take us away from slavery and to experience freedom forever. And Hashem said no. But he didn't say no, period. He said not right now. Because they're not ready right now. Because if Moshe would have took us into the land of Israel and built the Beit HaMikdash, the sages teach that the Jewish people would not have survived the whole event of whatever would have took place. And because Moshe would have built the Beit HaMikdash, it couldn't be destroyed. Just like he built the Mishkan and it wasn't destroyed. So what did he do? He knew Moshe's inner will. He knew his Ratzon. And therefore he has him come back multiple times. In fact, the Arizal says he comes back 120 times. Every 50 years, the soul of Moshe Rabbeinu comes back to lead the Jewish people. And interestingly, though, even though Moshe said, I would love to learn from Rabbi Akiva, and though he was the one who brought down the whole Torah, even though he spoke to Hashem every day, and then Hashem said, okay. And he reincarnated him as a person called Shimon, and he learned from Rabbi Akiva. Now, this piece that we're going to say now about Lag BaOmer, about what's happening right now, this is all about Shimon Bar Yochai. There was an amazing thing that took place with him. When he was fleeing from the Romans, when they were trying to kill everybody, when they invaded the land of Israel, he fled with his son. And only them two were able to get away. And the only place they can go that was safe was in a cave. Now, by that cave, they had a little bit of sustenance. They had a tree that had a little bit of food. And they had a little bit of water. That was all they had. They spent 12 years in that cave together in order to avoid the persecution of the Romans. What did they do for 12 years? He taught him Torah. They learned Torah. They came outside, and as you can imagine, if you for only 12 years, every moment of every day for 12 straight years was learning the deepest wisdom that there ever was and connecting to the most inner reality of existence, and then you come outside and you see people farming and conversing about things that don't necessarily matter. So Shimon Bar Yochai's experience of that was that he got very angry because he couldn't believe how many people in their life were wasting their time. That you're here for one lifetime, for one experience, to try and do your mission, and the majority of the world has no idea that they're even here for that. And he couldn't take it. And Hashem told Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, that's not why I brought you here. I didn't teach you everything in the cave for 12 years so you can come out and burn everything up. Go back in the cave. So we went back for one more year, which is, by the way, now 13 years, which is Gematria Ahava, love, which is Gematria Echad, unity. He comes back out, and instead of burning the world up with his consciousness, he then brought the whole world back with love. We are celebrating his death and his life today. And the Zohar, which he wrote, in the Zohar itself, it says the key to the redemption is going to be this book, the Zohar. All the teachings of the Zohar, which we now know as Kabbalah. That only this, in the end, in the merit of this, is going to bring back the Jewish people at the very end. And if you see all of the Bali Tshuva who are coming back, they're not usually coming back because they heard a shtickle Gemara. They're not usually coming back because they heard a really sweet halacha about how you have to tie your right shoe and then your left shoe. Okay? The majority of soul searchers are coming back because they heard something very deep. And this very deep thing that they heard touched them in a way that they never experienced, and they don't even know how to put a finger on it. And this is the beginning of their journey back. Now, obviously, we need to learn halacha. And obviously, we need to learn Gemara. However, it's not in the merit of those things that all the Jewish people are going to come back in the end. It's in the merit of the Zohar. It's in the merit of Kabbalah. It's in the merit of Chassidut. And this is a plain reality for anybody in our generation to see. We are celebrating the light which Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai brought to this world. And in fact, when you do that, you're celebrating Moshe Rabbeinu as well. And what we're going to learn tonight is you're celebrating Rabbi Nachman ben Fega as well. Okay? Now, before I start this piece right now, to try to explain to you a little bit of backdrop what's happening. First off, when did I read this? I told you guys this last week, but it's just worth saying again because it's Kedai. I told you that I was an atheist for most of my life. After Hashem opened my eyes to the fact that he existed, so that's amazing. And that gave me a very big high for a few weeks. But then after that, the question is, now what? I went to school for 6 years. I lived my whole life this way. Now I have all of these things that I would have to do. How do I even go about doing this? And what's the best way for me? And I learned different rabbis, different sages, and nobody spoke to me until I saw this book. I took my wife, my future wife, to a home of Chabadniks, a beautiful couple, where they host Israelis every single weekend for Shabbat, usually secular. They give them a very warm, beautiful Shabbat experience. And nobody there spoke English. Everybody only spoke Hebrew. That's the whole reason I brought her there, because she speaks Hebrew and she didn't feel comfortable. So while this was going on, I started looking at books. And I eventually saw this book, this black book with silver letters, and I picked it up, and it was called Likutey Moharan. I didn't know this book. I didn't know who Rabbi Nachman was. I didn't know anything about this realm of existence. I open up the book and I start to read this piece we're going to do tonight. I never actually taught this piece, even though we've been doing Likutey Moharan for years now with my Chabura. And it's so kedai now, since it is Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's Hilula, the day he passed away, that we're going to say this now. So this is a very exciting moment for me personally, and it hopefully will be a very exciting moment for everybody who's listening. Listen to the piece and understand what Rabbi Nachman is trying to teach us, because it's so deep and it's the fundamental teaching and an introduction to what Rabbi Nachman is trying to do for us. And as well, we need to understand what was going on in Rabbi Nachman's life. Rabbi Nachman had tuberculosis. This was the cause of his death when he passed away at 38 years old. His wife had it before him. She passed away a couple years before he did. And then he spent the last few years of his life very gravely ill. Very, very, very sick. However, he never stopped teaching. And he never stopped trying to give over what he had. Now, even though he was in Breslov, and that's where he became a Hasidic master, and that's where everybody flocked to him for his wisdom and his teachings, he said he didn't want to be buried in Breslov. He said he wanted to be buried in a city called Uman. Why did he want to be buried in Uman? There was something called, I want to see if I get the name right. We'll just call it the Uman massacre, okay? Thousands and thousands and thousands of simple Jews, not learned, not rich, simple, good-hearted people who were Jewish, that the Europeans came in and tried to get them to not keep the Torah, to convert, to do X, Y, and Z. And when they didn't, and they all said they would rather die, even though on paper, these were people who should say, whatever you want, because I want to live. And they all died as a result. They were all buried in Uman. And when Rabbi Nachman walked past Uman for the first time with his students a few years before that, he looked around and he told them, the smell of Gan Eden is here. They didn't know what that meant at the time. Years later, right before he was about to pass away, he said, I want to move to Uman. Okay? Now, on Shabbat, right after Shabbat ended, there was a fire in Breslov, and it destroyed the majority of the town. His house was completely burnt down. What was Rabbi Nachman's response? He realized this was a sign from Hashem that his life was about to end, that it was time for him to go to Uman. It was time for him to be buried. Now, Rav Natan brings down that in Rabbi Nachman's life, when he first met him, Rabbi Nachman thought he was going to save the whole world. He thought he was going to rectify everything. But as the years went on, through his experiences, through his wisdom, he realized it was going to take much longer than he thought it was going to. And he wasn't going to be able to do it in one shot while he was alive. It was going to take more time. This was clear to Rav Natan in his writings by the end of Rabbi Nachman's life. 4 days later, they start traveling to Uman. And as they're traveling to Uman, and this is about, a few months before Rabbi Nachman actually passes away at 38 and a half years old, he gave over this teaching to his students. And this is the teaching. Lachu chazu mifalot Hashem. Come and see the wonders of Hashem. Hitgalut nifla misod gedula tatana ha'eloki Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. The amazing revelation concerning the mystery of this godly sage, Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai. You should know, for someone to be called godly is not a small thing. Even amongst the sages, to call a sage Ish Eloki, man of God, or a godly sage, it means he has attained a very, very high level. So he's introducing like this. Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, Hivtiach shelo tishtakach Torah mi Yisrael ad yado. He gave assurances in his lifetime that despite what looks like would be a time in history that the Jewish people would completely forget their heritage, that they would completely forget the Torah, that they would completely forget who they were. Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai stood up to his contemporaries who were much older than him. He was a student at the time. These were the leading sages of the generation. And he got up, and even though they all decided and they came together and they proclaimed there's going to be a time in history when the Jewish people completely forget the Torah. Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai got up and he said, they will never forget the Torah. How did he know that? Where did he get that from? How could you be so bold? It's not like nowadays when you're in America and all these American kids come to a class. You have a guy who's been learning something for 60 years. The guy says, this is what it is. And then the kid says, that's not what it is. Everybody does that nowadays. This is what it's like to be an American. 2,000 years ago, people respected sages. If someone had learned for 60 years, you assume they knew more than you. Nobody got up and said anything. You listened. You tried to learn. And then later on, you formulated it. You came back with a question. But Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai got up in front of everyone. These were the greatest people who ever lived. Much bigger than him at the time. He was a student, young. And he came to them and he said, you're wrong. The Torah is never going to be forgotten by the Jews. Like it says in the Gemara, in Masechet Shabbat, they entered the rabbis into the vineyard in Yavne. So what does that mean? The Beit HaMikdash, right, the thing that we're all waiting to be rebuilt, where the revelation of godliness is going to take place in the world and there's going to be peace in the world, it was not yet destroyed, but it was going to be soon by the Romans. The main sages, the Sanhedrin, they were in that place. They would meet in that place. They would make decisions in that place. However, because they were being persecuted from the Romans, they had to actually move their location 10 times, the Gemara says. 2 times of those 10 times, they went to a city called Yavne. So at this time, when Rabbi Shimon spoke up to all of them, it was in the city called Yavne, when they were making this decision and coming to this consensus that the Torah would be forgotten. They said with certainty that in the future the Jewish people would forget who they were. They are going to forget the Torah. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said, never. Where does he know this from? So Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai in the Gemara, he brings a pasuk in the Torah to bring a proof that the Torah itself says at the end of the Torah and Devarim that we would never forget it completely. What's the pasuk? It says, Ki lo tishachach mipi zara. It will not be forgotten from the mouth of the children. Now the simple meaning of this pasuk of the Torah is Hashem's children. Hashem's children are never going to completely forget the Torah. But the Jewish people and the sages, they know this pasuk. They know the whole Torah cold. So they know the pasuk. What's so amazing about the fact that he brings this pasuk to teach that we would never forget it? Because it's brought in the Zohar, which Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai ended up writing after the 24,000 students passed away, and he learned from Rabbi Akiva, and he ended up receiving all of the deepest secrets of the Torah. Can everybody still hear me, by the way? Someone just said the audio went out. Okay, good. In the Zohar, where the deepest mysteries are of creation, of existence, of spirituality, of the world, it's called the Zohar. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai wrote the whole Zohar with his students. What does it say in the Zohar? Bahai Chibura. Because of this work, meaning the Zohar, the Ihu Sefer Zohar, this book called the Zohar, which means light, which means deep, penetrating, transformative light. Yifkun Bei Min Galuta. The Jewish people are going to be redeemed from exile in the end. What does that have to do with the pasuk? How is that the proof? Listen to what Rabbi Nachman says now. It's an amazing thing. I remember when I read this, and I thought to myself, even though with my very little knowledge at the time, and still with my very little knowledge now, how did nobody ever teach this before? How could this not be understood? How could 2,000 years go by that only Rabbi Nachman teaches this thing about Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai? And if you ask that question to yourself honestly afterwards, you're going to come out with the same conclusion I came out with, which is, we'll see at the end, okay? So this is what Rabbi Nachman now says. Vata bo urei va'aven. Come and see and understand. So why does he say that? In the Gemara, it always says, come and understand, come and hear. But hearing in the Torah always means to understand. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. It doesn't just mean hear Israel. It means understand deeply what you're saying to yourself. that you are a piece of Hashem and there's nothing else besides him. Shema Yisrael. We say this every day. We teach it to our kids, and they say it before they pass away. It's said twice a day by every Jew their whole life. Come and hear, the Gemara says. But the Zohar doesn't say come and hear. The Zohar, because it's talking about the deepest mysteries of the Torah, says come and see. Because seeing in Kabbalah is a deeper revelation than hearing. Seeing is an intimate experience. It's being one with something. You can see much further than you can hear. So the Zohar says, come and see. Now Rabbi Nachman says, come and see and hear. You got to do the whole thing right now. For you who think the Torah is just stories about people made up by some random person with these crazed slaves, listen to the wonders and the mysteries of the Torah, because you are mamash missing out on the deepest truths of reality. Ki al ken samach Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai atzmo el zo pasuk. He based himself on this pasuk, ki lo tishachach mipi zaro, that his children are not going to forget it. Ki be'emet bezeh pasuk ba'atzmo. He was talking about himself. Because of his children, the Jewish people weren't going to forget it. What does that mean? We know that according to the Torah, anybody who teaches a student, he gives birth to him. He's not just his teacher, he's also his father. Why? What's the concept of a father? He gives physical birth to you. But anytime that you give birth to a new reality, you're called the father of that thing. So just like your father gave birth to you physically, your rabbi, your sage, your tzaddik gives birth to you spiritually. So Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai was hinting in this pasuk that because of him, his children are not going to forget it because of me. Meaning he was coming to the sages of Yavne and he was telling them at his young age, the Jewish people are never going to forget the Torah. You know why? Because the person you're looking at, I'm going to make sure they never forget it. Because my children, my students are going to make sure that the Jewish people are redeemed at the end and they never forget. Where does he know that from? This is beautiful. It's very nice to connect these things. But how do we know Rabbi Nachman is not just trying to drush it up, to make some nice exposition? Do we see any proof that Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai was actually speaking about himself in the pasuk? And that's why he brought it. Shehu Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai al yadeh los tistakach haTorah miYisrael ki sofei tevot shel zeh pasuk. Because if you look at the last letters of each word in this pasuk, ki lo tishachach mipi zaro, you're going to see the letters Yud, Aleph, Chet, Yud, Vav. They spell Yochai. Who did we say is the reason that we're going to have the Torah at the end, that we're never going to forget it? Who's the one who claimed that we're never going to forget it? It was Shimon bar Yochai, the rabbi, the godly sage Shimon, that he was the son of Yochai. Meaning in the actual pasuk itself, that he was telling them they're never going to forget it. You know why? Yochai. Because me, the son of Yochai, is going to make sure that the Jewish people never forget the Torah. It's in the pasuk itself. Yochai. This is hinted to and revealed in the pasuk itself, because it says his children are not going to forget it because of his mouth. Mipizara, the mouth of his students. Daika, specifically his children. Meaning the students that Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai had, his children. We know that as opposed to Rabbi Akiva's students who died in these 33 days, 24,000 of his students died. Why does the Gemara say that is? Because they did not respect each other. So this is a very hard thing to understand. How can you have 24,000 people of the greatest sage who ever lived that Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to learn from, Rabbi Akiva, and they didn't have common respect for each other? The answer is so important. Because there is, and I know this is controversial, there is a limit to what learning revealed Torah can do for people. Now, I know the traditional Jewish world doesn't want to hear anything about that, doesn't want to speak about that, but this is a reality. That when a person learns only halakha and Gemara, he is not transformed into another human being, no matter how much knowledge he accrues. Even if he learns everything Hashem wants him to do, and even if he doesn't become that thing. He does that thing. The deepest wisdom of Torah, Kabbalah, Zohar, Chassidut actually transforms you. They didn't respect each other because it's impossible to get that level of respect for everybody around you, for life, that love that's necessary from revealed Torah alone. So no matter what Rabbi Akiva could teach them, it's capped out at some point. Now Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai merited to the deepest mysteries of Torah. We're going to learn in a moment, these mysteries come from a sphere that's called Bina. Now there are 10 emanations, 10 lights which are revealed in this world. The lowest 7 are corresponding to the revealed Torah, what all of us can pick up and learn. This is what Hashem wants from us, but it doesn't change you. It doesn't light you on fire. It doesn't make you want to become a better person necessarily. Or even if it does, it doesn't tell you how. Or even if it tells you how, it doesn't allow you to do it. Something doesn't allow you to move and to change. What's the reason? Because it's revealed. In Kabbalah, they explain that in order for a person to completely transform, he needs to tap into something which is hidden, not which is revealed, something deeper. Now, if you go above these 7 emanations, these 7 revelations of light which are revealed, you have this sphere called Bina. This is a feminine sphere. This is a feminine quality. This is a feminine revelation of godliness. It's called Bina. And according to the Zohar, this is where the secrets of the Zohar come in. It comes from Bina. Now, we know that in the beginning, when Adam and Rishon, the first man and Chava were together, Adam and Eve, they ate from the tree of knowledge. And Hashem said, wait till Shabbat and eat from the tree of life. And then Zohar and Kabbalah, they explain that if they would have waited till Shabbat, they would have been able to eat from the tree of life and then also eat from the tree of knowledge safely in a way that was good for them. But they did not wait. And they ate. What was this tree of life and what was this tree of knowledge? So in Kabbalah and Chassidut, they explain the tree of knowledge is called revealed Torah. It's called Halacha and Gemara. It's called Musar. Within there, even though it's all godly, there's also bad. How can you say that? Because when you learn halakha, what are you learning in Jewish law? What to do and what not to do. So the not to do is the bad. So there's inherent bad in there. And now we have to separate them and connect to the good. So it's important and you need to do it. However, what's the tree of life? It's called Bina. This female revelation of godliness is called Bina, understanding. That's the tree of life. This is where the secrets of Kabbalah come from. They come from Bina. They come from the Zohar. It all comes from this place called Bina. So Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is saying, you know why the Jewish people are never going to forget the Torah, even though you think so? Because you're only learning revealed Torah. But I'm going to reveal the hidden Torah. And the hidden Torah is going to save the Jewish people in the end because it's going to take us out no matter what we're going through. Because that's the power of this hidden Torah. And my children are going to give it over. My students. Why? What gives them the merit? And this is so important for us, especially right now. How are we going to have redemption? When is all this going to change? When are we going to experience what we're all waiting for? Peace, love, truth, health, life, sustenance. No worries, no anxieties, no concerns. What's the key? Every day, 3 times a day, we say the Amidah. We say Hashem is going to save us for His name's sake, be'ahava, with love. With love. What does that mean? We say it every day. We never think about it. It means because He loves us, He's going to save us. That's what people think. It means for the sake of love, meaning through the quality of love, only through that Hashem is going to save us in the end. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's students, even though there was very few of them, 11 of them, 10 of them, 12 of them, they loved each other and their rabbi with a tremendous, endless love. Why were they able to develop such a love for their rabbi, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai? when Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and the other students of Rabbi Akiva couldn't develop that love with each other? The answer is because the teachings were from the hidden place of Bina. And when they're above this physical world, you can access something that's beyond what's normal, which is called love. Because Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai taught them the secrets, now they loved each other. You'll notice amongst the Jewish people, where do you see the most achdut, the most unity, the most love, not just for religious Jews, but for secular Jews, not just for secular Jews, but for the creation? It's from Hasidic masters and their students. Why? Why is Chabad all over the world loving and respecting every single person and every Jew, no matter what? Because they learn Kabbalah, because they learn Zohar, because they learn Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's teachings. Why is Rabbi Nachman and his students teaching the whole world to love every Jew no matter what, even though it's a principle in the Torah, and Rabbi Akiva says the whole Torah is founded on it? But how do we do that? The answer is it's not normal to love everybody, so we need Torah that's not normal. We need Torah that's from Bina, that's above this natural world. That's called Zohar, that's called Kabbalah, that's called Chassidut. For my sake, because of my children, that they're going to love each other, people are never going to forget the Torah. V'da, and you should know, v'so Rabbi Shimon ba'atzma, that Rabbi Shimon himself, it's not just that Yochai is alluded to, that he's the one who's going to redeem us, that through his teachings we're going to be redeemed in the end, and that's what he was telling them. There's another pasuk in the Torah that's just as explicit, that is revealing to Shimon, his first name. Hu merumaz b'pasuk acher. It's another pasuk. Ki da ki atana kadosh, because this godly transcendent Tana, this sage, Rabbi Shimon, hu bechinat, it's the concept from the pasuk from Daniel. We know Daniel is a book where the deepest secrets of Torah are there, but they're hidden. It's hard to reveal them. The Zohar deals a lot with these secrets in the Zohar. One pasuk from there, it says, Ir v'kadish min shemaya nachit. It's written in Aramaic. It says there, an angel, a holy one, descended from above, from heaven. Rabbi Nachman says there, what are the first letters of this pasuk? What are the first letters of each of these words? Ayin, Vav, Mem, Shin, Nun. It spells Shimon. Who is the Malach, this godly angel that comes down to this world, which descends from heaven? The answer is it's Shimon himself. It's Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. This is the reason why he's called the godly Tana. Because even though he was a physical, normal human being, he attained such a level through his connection to Hashem, through his time alone with him in Hippolytus for 13 years with his son, through his love that he had with his students, that he was able to reach the level of called Malach, that you're an angel in a human form. Now, interestingly, they explain in the Chassidut, Rabbi Yitzhak Ginsburg brings this down, that Moshe Rabbeinu himself, he's called Ish Elokim. We say this in Tehillim in Perek Tzadi, 90. Ish Elokim, the man of Hashem. What does that mean? So Rabbi Ginsburg explains, it means, in Kabbalah and Chassidut, they explain that Moshe, from, so to speak, the chest down, he's called Ish, man. In Kabbalah, they explain Ish means Tzaddik, meaning he got to a very high level of mastery of his body, and using it only for spiritual and higher reasons. That's called tzaddik. And from the chest up, the head, he's called Elokim. He's called God. Now you're going to say, that's crazy. How can you say Moshe is God? We're not saying Moshe is God. But we're saying that from the head, his consciousness was completely godly. It was pure godliness, Elokim. Where's a clue to this? If you take the name Moshe and you flip it around, it's Hashem. Mem, Shin, Hey, you just flip it, Hashem. Who is the one who taught us the Torah? Moshe Rabbeinu. Who is the Torah that Moshe taught it from? Hashem. Moshe was the pure revelation of Hashem in this world. And the Arizal said that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was a direct reincarnation of Moshe Rabbeinu. That he came again to rebuild again. That after 24,000 Jews died, he rebuilt the whole thing with his few students through love. And he revealed now the deepest mysteries he didn't when he took us out of Egypt thousands of years before that. So we'll finish with something right here, and then we'll take questions, okay? What is Rabbi Nachman starting Likutey Moharan with this for? The obvious question. This book, Likutey Moharan, has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of lessons. And not simple lessons. Lessons like reading a Gemara, the hardest, most complex lessons trying to connect you to a deeper reality. Why is he starting the entire thing with this story that he said over to his students right before he passed away? What's the connection between that and Rabbi Nachman himself? After Rabbi Nachman told this Torah over to his students before he passed away at 38 years old, he ended and he said, but now there is a Nachal Novea Mekor Chochma, a flowing brook, a wellspring of wisdom, of Chochma, of godly revelation. So that even the Holy One who descended from heaven, meaning Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, he must also receive from this brook. What is he talking about? What is he telling his students? Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai lived 2,000 years, almost 2,000 years before Rabbi Nachman. He's saying that in his merit, the Jewish people are never going to forget the Torah. That in his merit, at the end, when the Jewish people are looking like they're going to completely forget it, that we're going to completely assimilate at the end. That Jewish people won't even know or care that they're Jewish. That Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, he's not here now. So how are we going to be saved? Because he says now he is going to be revealed from the place that he is sourced in, that he is rooted from, that he got those teachings from. He got it from the Nachal Novea Mekor Chochma, this flowing brook, the wellspring of wisdom. What is this reference? If you look at the first letters of this pasuk, Nachal Novea Mekor Chochma, it spells Nachman. He was alluding to himself. So what is he saying? This whole teaching about Rabbi Nachman, that he's giving over from the vantage point of Shimon Bar Yochai, that he went to the sages, he went to Rabbi Akiva, he went to all of them and said the Torah is never going to be forgotten no matter how deep and dark it gets because of me. Rabbi Nachman saying, you know who Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is? It's me. But this time it's a little different. Because Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai brought down those secrets from a place called Bina. But Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, who was the Nachal Novea Mekor Chochma, he himself is rooted in the place called Chochma. This is a revelation of godliness that's higher than Bina. So he's saying the Arizal is right. He does come back many times. Who is he now? You're looking at him right before he passed away. Nachman. I am the Mekor Chochma. And from me, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai got those teachings 2,000 years ago. Why is he telling us that? Because he's saying now in the end, we still need Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. It isn't his merit that those teachings are going to save the world, that they're going to bring love to the world, that they're going to bring unity to the world, that they're going to bring faith to the world. But it's through me, through my ability to bring this down in a deeper way for everybody else. What's the reason for that? Why can't we just do it through the Zohar? I mean, it's pretty obvious if you look at the Zohar, you're not going to understand anything it says. But on a very simple, what does it mean? We have to understand this is a very important teaching, okay? Why was the Zohar, even though it was written thousands of years ago, only revealed 1,000 years ago? Why was it revealed so much after Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai actually wrote it? The answer is very important. Hashem gives us what we need. Hashem always gives us what we need. It says in Chagiga, the Gemara in Chagiga, that Hashem never orphans a nation. There is no generation that Hashem leaves. He's always with us, and He always gives you what you need. What did we need 2,000 years ago? We needed the Gemara. We needed Rabbi Akiva. We needed the oral Torah, the revealed Torah. However, 1,000 years later, people were starting to assimilate. People were starting to forget. But Hashem always gives you what you need. So what did He do? He revealed the teachings of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai from this place called Bina, which is higher. It's more hidden. It's a higher light. And even though it comes from the mysteries, we need a higher light to be revealed for a darker place. Because the Baal Shem Tov explains that the only way to reach the place of darkness is from a higher place of light. You need a deeper source, a deeper light to go down to a lower place. How does the Baal Shem Tov explain this? Let's say you go on top of a building and you have a ball. You throw the ball off the building. Let's say the building is 500 feet high. You throw the ball off. It's going to hit the floor and bounce back up. Now you have another building that's 1,000 feet high. It's 2 times as high. You throw a ball off the top. Now, even though it is falling from a higher place, when it drops, it goes lower and it comes all the way back up again. Meaning that the higher the building, the lower it's going to fall, and the higher it's going to come back up. What's the point of the light of Hashem? It's to go down to the deepest darkness and to lift those people all the way back up. With the revealed Torah, you can only get back up so far, and you can only go down so far. With the Torah of Bina, of the secrets of Torah, of the Zohar, you can go a little bit further. But now, in the 1800s, when Rabbi Nachman lives until the end, he's saying now Bina is not enough. We need a higher light, the light of Chokhmah. And he's saying that I am the revelation of Chokhmah. My soul is rooted in the place of Chokhmah. It's the same teachings, but it's coming from a higher place, and it falls down to a deeper darkness. And this is the reason why you see that the majority of Jewish people who read and learn Rabbi Nachman's teachings are going away from the darkness, from depression, from anxiety, from disease, from slavery. And they're finding happiness and freedom and connection and unity and love. Why does Rabbi Nachman have this power? Because his light comes from the place of Chokhmah. It's higher even than the Zohar. And therefore it can fall to a deeper place, a darker place, and can lift it all the way back up. Now, why is this so important for us now? Because it's taught in Kabbalah and Chassidut that in the end, Mashiach, his soul, comes from and is rooted in something that's rooted higher than Chokhmah. It's a place called Keter. And this is the highest place. This is the highest root. It is the light of the Ein Sof itself, the light of the Endless One. This is the only thing higher than Chokhmah. And it's taught there that the only soul that was ever given birth to from that place is the soul of Mashiach. And that soul was given birth to prior to the world even being created, because Hashem creates the cure before He creates the disease. And only in the end is that soul going to be revealed, in the last generation. Now, what is he going to be teaching? The same exact thing as the Zohar, as Rabbi Nachman, but from an even higher place. And where are we going to see that? How are we going to know that is? Because it needs to go to a deeper darkness. Rabbi Nachman in his lifetime said that Mashiach's parents are going to be okay. What does that mean? He's not saying they're going to be bad people. They could be great people, really, really nice, wholesome people, really sweet people. But they're not going to be holding spiritually. They're not going to be steiging in the mitzvot and learning Torah every day. They're going to be probably assimilated. They're going to be Why is that? Because in order for Mashiach to save all of the Jewish people, he needs to start in the greatest darkness. He needs to start in Edom, in Western civilization. He needs to start in America, in a place like this. The place where there is complete assimilation and the Jewish people have no idea that they're Jewish. Why does he have to start so low and so far? The answer is because the Baal Shem Tov teaches that the highest light is the only way to get down to the deepest darkness.
Bye-bye.
His parents are because he has to be a Baal Tshuva. He has to fall to the lowest place if he's going to bring everybody else back. But that light that he has, even though he doesn't know it, is coming from Keter. It's coming from the highest place. This is Rabbi Nachman, even higher. Rabbi Nachman thought his son was going to be him. And when he passed away at a very young age, he was crying tremendously. They thought he was crying because his son passed away alone. That was not the only reason. It was because he was really, really sure that he was going to be it. And when he passed away, he realized it was going to take much longer for us to be redeemed. Now it's 210 years later, and everybody agrees this is the final generation, and the Mashiach is already here. His steps are already being heard. Now he just needs to be revealed. What's the key to him revealing those teachings? The answer is love. We need to love each other. Rabbi Nachman says explicitly in Likutey Moharan that the more the Jewish people love each other, the greater the revelation of godliness they can bring into the world. That just like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's students loved each other so much, and Rabbi Nachman's students loved each other so much, Mashiach's students are going to love each other even more. All of us need to find love. How do we connect to love? The answer is we need to learn the mysteries of Torah. We need to learn from the Nachol, Novea, Mekor Chochma. We need to learn from Rav Nachman ben Fega how to love. He is holding on to the deepest secrets, which are going to bring and are bringing everybody back. 100,000 people this past year in Uman. Millions more who are transformed through his teachings, and it's getting stronger by the day. The footsteps are heard. The goal now, the key now is we need to become vessels for this. How do we become vessels? By being genuine, by being humble, by loving every single Jew. I want to end with this and we'll go into questions. Adolf Hitler, his name should be erased. He killed 6 million of our fathers, of our mothers, of our grandparents, 6 million Jews. I want you to hear the irony, the prophecy that Adolf Hitler had. Adolf Hitler told the Germans when he was wiping out all the Jewish people, you need to know something very important. You can't let one Jewish boy survive the camps. And they thought, okay, yeah, well, of course, that's what we're doing. We're exterminating. He says, no, you don't understand. You can't let one boy survive. Not one. Not in Dachau, not in Bergen-Belsen, nowhere. Not in Auschwitz. Every single one of them has to be gassed. You know why? Because if you let one Jewish boy survive, that Jewish boy is going to find the Torah and he's going to start the whole thing over again. Adolf Hitler said this. You can look it up after the class. My grandfather, his brothers were killed in the Holocaust. His sisters were killed in the Holocaust. His parents were killed in the Holocaust, gassed and murdered and buried. My grandfather was the only one who survived. He went in at 13 years old. He came out 5 years later at 18 years old. He was going to move to Israel and he found out an aunt in America, so he wanted to come with family because he lost everyone. He was already assimilated to some extent. He didn't even know that his parents were Hasidic. He then gave birth to 3 children. One of them is my mother. And they, because of society and because of being after the camps and because of moving and not knowing anything about who we are, they became even more assimilated. And my mother, my father, gave birth to 2 children, my older brother and me. There's many people out there who have grandparents from the camps, parents who are completely secular, grandparents who are completely secular, who are now turning the world over when they found the Torah again. That Hitler was right. You should have got every single one of us, because all you need is one to survive, and he's going to start the whole thing over again. We are in a very, very powerful, transformative time right now, where Hitler's prophecy is coming true. And he is the cause of our redemption. Because now, because of him, the greatest souls are being found in the darkest places. And they are coming back. And they're coming back, like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai saying, we are not going to forget the Torah. We are not going to forget Hashem. We're not going to forget who we are. We are going to be saved. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening tonight. This week, we're going to continue to learn Rabbi Nachman's teachings. I hope you guys have an amazing, amazing, amazing Lag BaOmer. This is an incredibly happy day. Very, very happy day. You should be as happy as possible, because there's a great light that's shining right now through every single one of us. You just have to tap into it and to connect to it. To love. To love. It's so important to love. That's what we're learning. Love is the key to the mysteries. Somebody is asking, is there any way that we can sponsor further classes? Is there any way we can donate to Tzion to try and help the cause? Yes, for sure. You can put money into the Chase Quick, I don't even know. I don't even know how these things work. My students explain to me. There's a Chase Quick Pay, I guess. You put my email into it, Kalmus@gmail.com, or sionbreslavproject@gmail.com, and you can put it in there. If you have questions about it, you can email us at sionbreslavproject@gmail.com or rebbekalmus@gmail.com. Can you write it? Someone else is going to write it. Hopefully, Bezrat Hashem, one of my students is going to write it for everybody right now. That would be a big help. Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions about why we spoke about what we spoke about tonight? What do we do with this moving forward? How do we connect to this? You know, this is a very, very powerful time. This is the time to ask those deep questions, because the answers are available today. Any questions before we hang up together? Don't be shy. And you can also text them in. You can also say it without taking your face on. But it's important to ask questions. Ask me anything. I may not know the answer, but I'll just tell you I don't. You should just ask though. Summation. Summation. Good. Somebody wants a summary. Very good. Summary is like this. The soul of Moshe Rabbeinu has reincarnated 119 times. Adam Arishon was the soul of Moshe Rabbeinu. Mashiach is going to be the soul of Moshe Rabbeinu. Every single time, it's a greater revelation of Moshe. It's a higher revelation of Moshe, because it's in a darker generation. And the last generation is going to be the darkest, meaning the most assimilated, the furthest from knowing who they are, the furthest from knowing Hashem, the furthest from knowing the truth. Therefore, Moshe has to keep coming back in a deeper revelation of himself, at a higher place. That happened 2,000 years ago with Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, when he revealed the secrets of Torah. It happened again 200 years ago with Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, but it came back in a deeper, more powerful, stronger way. It is going to happen one last time for the 120th time in our generation, with the coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu, when Moshe Rabbeinu is going to come back to redeem all of us. But he is going to come and he's going to be found in Sodom. Like the Midrash says, where is David found? Where is David HaMelech found? Where is Mashiach found? He's found in the ugliest, darkest place of stone. David HaMelech is the soul of Mashiach. This is Moshe at the end. That even though he looks like David and he sounds like David, his soul is in Moshe's, but it's from Keter, and he himself may not know it. What's the key to him finding out? That his students love each other. That's the summary. We have to learn to love each other. And only with that love will Mashiach be revealed in the end, that Moshe Rabbeinu is going to come back and be revealed for the 120th time, and this time for good. that he's going to take us out of slavery, that he's going to take us out of servitude, that he's going to take us out of oppression, physical, mental, emotional, psychological, spiritual. And he's going to bring peace that we've all been yearning for. And he's going to heal. And he's going to give great advice. He's going to be the best psychologist and the best doctor, the best teacher, and most importantly, the best friend. Any other questions?
I have a question. Hello? Oh.
Okay. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great night. And tomorrow
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Hello, you hear me? Sorry, I was connected to Bluetooth.
I hear
like
you.
twice.
Good. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So basically, you said Mashiach is the highest, comes from the highest level of Keter, which is Chokhmah. But what about?
No, Keter is hot. Sorry to cut you off. Keter is higher than Chokhmah.
Yeah. So that's okay. So that's what I was understanding. Okay, so but women are higher because they have higher binah. So what about Mashiach's binah or Mashiach's wife, or just a regular person who has what's higher than binah?
Great question. Great question.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's two things that are higher than Bina. Chokhmah is higher than Bina, and Keter is higher than Bina. So I'll tell you something Rav Ginsburg said, something amazing he says. Mashiach, Moshe, when he came down and took us out of Egypt, he needed to separate from his wife for a period of time.
Right.
He needed to disconnect himself from physical reality so that he can connect to spiritual reality. Rav Ginsburg explains that at the end, Mashiach is going to be a normal person with a wife and with children, and he's going to be even greater than Moshe was. Why? Because he's going to do the same thing Moshe did, except he'll be married. He'll do the same thing Moshe did, except he's going to have children, and he's going to be with them all the time, and he's going to look like a normal Joe, a normal person. And at the same time, he's holding on to the soul of Moshe Rabbeinu, that he's able to reach these deep revelations within his own physical life. And that's what we need at the end. Because the Torah does not want us to live in a mountain. It doesn't want us to go off somewhere and be disconnected from reality. It wants you to be a part of real reality, to lift up all of the physical world, all of society, all of our relationships within it, to lift up the normal and make it beautiful. To do that, that light needs to come from an even higher place. That highest place is called Keter. Because from that place, that light can now go down to the lowest places. And then lift it all up. So therefore, we're saying that Rabbi Nachman himself associated his soul with Chokhmah, which is higher than Bina. However, Rabbi Nachman and the Hasidic masters and Kabbalah is explaining in the end, though, we're going to need a revelation of that same soul of Moshe Rabbeinu, not from Bina, not from Chokhmah, but from Keter. And that soul is going to fall down to the lowest place and to lift everyone back up from there.
So can I continue to ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I learned that Rachel and Leah come at Chatzot, Tikkun Hatzot.
Yeah.
Why not a man? Because women have Binah, they're higher, they're able to fight those forces.
So this is the second part I wanted to get to. Thank you for reminding me. Very good. What's something else that we know? According to the Zohar, David HaMelech, who's the soul of Mashiach, David, he had a completely female soul. That even though he was a physical man, his soul was female. What does that mean? We know, and we've learned before, that higher than Chokhmah is the mind, is the crown. The Keter means the crown. Keter is both male and female. But it's really female. Why? Because the concept of female is it's superconscious. You'll notice your mother is in tune to things about you just without you saying it. What's the reason? Because she has Bina. However, there's a level that's even higher than that. That is called super conscious. That's called keter. And that's on top of the head. We say on Shabbat that our wives are Eshet Chayil Miyimsa. Our wives are the crown on our heads. What does that mean? We're talking about the level of keter. That Amunah, faith, is above wisdom. And faith is female. And according to Chassidut and Kabbalah, in the end, it's the female dimension of spirituality which needs to be revealed in the end in order to have redemption. Because the female dimension of spirituality is called Amunah, it's called faith. And it's super conscious. It's not conscious. Why Rachel and Leah? Because David HaMelech was a soul which had both the souls of Rachel and Leah within him. Something very interesting that Rabbi Natan breaks down in his commentary on Tehillim. David HaMelech says in the second parak of Tehillim, in the second chapter, David, in his book that he wrote, Tehillim, he says there that Mashiach is going to conquer everybody with barzel, with iron. So what does iron have to do with anything? What's the real significance of that? So they explain there, Rabbi Nachman explains actually in Rabbi Nachman's stories in the commentary there, it's from Aryeh Kaplan, he says there that barzel is an acronym, iron, for the four mothers, the four wives of Yaakov, Bilhah, Rachel, Zilpah, Leah. How is David HaMelech going to conquer the whole world? Through the four wives of Yaakov, meaning complete emunah. Complete emunah. And in the end, Mashiach again is going to have a female soul. However, they teach that in order for him to finally become Mashiach, he is going to have to additionally acquire a male soul. So this is very deep, and it's not for the time right now in order to figure this out. It's going to take much more time than that. But just suffice it to say, he's going to need both his male and female components in order to ultimately redeem everybody.
Amen.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Tomorrow night, we're going to have a class on Likutey Moharan. Yes?
Rabbi, one quick question. Is there a special koach on Lag BaOmer on, what to pray for? Like what
Yes,
type
100%.
of...
100%. Lag BaOmer is the day that the hidden light of Torah came into the world. We have an ability today to tap into the secrets of Torah and to draw them down. How do we draw them down? The answer is through love. So for the next day, do your very best, especially in your Hibodedut. Talk to Hashem. Say to Hashem, help me to love everyone. Help me to love every Jew, no matter who has hurt me, no matter who has wronged me, no matter who I see it looks like on paper, they're not good people. This is the exile that's done that to them. Every Jew is good. Every Jew is good. Ask Hashem to help you to love every Jew. If we love each other, Mashiach will come. So what's the koach of today? You're able to access the deepest mysteries of Torah within the next day, and you do that through love. So give something to somebody. Tell somebody, tell your wife you love them. Tell your best friend who's your bro, who you never felt comfortable saying, like, hey, by the way, I love you. Tell your children if you haven't told them yet or you don't tell them enough. Tell the people around you that you love them, okay? When you love, you receive revelations of godliness. And the more you love, the greater is the revelation. So therefore, what can we tap into? Use this day to try and pray for love for Jews. And if you're able to do that and you ask Hashem that he should shine down the deepest light, the light of Mashiach, that you should experience it even before he comes, and that this itself should bring you to your own personal redemption. And then through that, we should all be able to do this together, okay? The answer is love. Take today to love as much as you can, whoever you can. That's appropriate. Any last questions? Okay, tomorrow night, is a teaching on Likutey Moharan. We're moving forward in the first Torah. It's such an important Torah. Please tune in for the men. Wednesday night is a class only for women. Thursday night is a class again for men. Then, Baruch Hashem, we'll have Shabbat. And then we'll have another man-woman's class on Sunday. The schedule is out. If you have any questions where the schedule is, please email tzionbresleproject@gmail.com. We will send you the schedule. And if you have any questions, what are we doing? What's the purpose? How can I be involved? How can I help? How can I learn more? Whatever it is, just send an email, okay? We have very nice people here who are going to answer you. And the main thing is we do this together, you know? We can't love alone. We need to love together. Tzion is here in order to cultivate that love amongst the Jewish people and to shine the light of Rabbi Nachman down in the world to be able to do that. Because the key is that wisdom. That wisdom is what's gonna cause the love to grow. Okay? So therefore, we need to learn Rabbeinu's Torah. And through this, we're gonna learn to love. Okay? And then through that, we're gonna have the redemption. Everybody have a very good night. It was so nice to do this with you guys. Happy Lag BaOmer.